Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Move Me to Texas team here with another episode of the Real Advice podcast. I am very excited for this week's guest and to dig in with him. Have known him for a while here in the greater Houston area through coaching communities and just the real estate world that is very small. He's an absolute badass. Just had his first legal drink like last week, I think. But has been crushing it for a few years in real estate and has been doing a lot of different things that I'm excited to dig into today. Please welcome my friend Kaleb Monroe. What's up, man? How are you?
What's up, Katie Day? Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Excited for you to be here as well, man. So for those that don't know you, how did you get into real estate?
So, whenever I was a senior in high school, I did Cutco, which I'm sure if you're a realtor listening to this, you've either gotten a gift at some point or given a gift at some point of some really sharp knives. I was the one selling those my senior year of high school. I ended up doing really good in it. I mean, made good money for a high school student and ended up doing an appointment one time for a teacher of mine who was also a realtor. He still is a realtor. And after the appointment, he kind of asked me, "So, what do you make off of one sale? Like, if you just sell this knife set, what would you make?" And I laid it out to him, and he's like, "Okay, well, this is what I make off of one house." And obviously, it was a drastic difference. He basically told me, I think he'd be really good at it. Kind of held me accountable by calling me into his classroom like the next week, printing out Champion School of Real Estate next class schedule right after graduation, and was like, "You need to sign up. I think you can do it." I procrastinated for a while, finally got it done. I was still in college while I was like in my first year of real estate. And
Okay.
through my first semester of school, I was like leaving the classroom to go answer calls and like kind of checking my phone in between assignments and stuff like
In
that.
between assignments during class.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
lie. Don't lie.
I didn't really like that. You know what I mean? I was like, I can't split my focus. So I finished out my semester and I kind of just asked myself, okay, do I want to give this a shot, or do I want to like keep going to school and maybe just do it as a side hustle? But I kind of knew that if I wanted to do it, I should do it full all the way.
Yeah.
And I think I've made the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. You're someone that, I met and I knew for a while, and then I found out like your age, and I was like, no shit, man, like that's crazy because, like I don't want to age myself, but I thought we were closer in age than we were, right? And you were like, no, like I just turned 21. This was a little bit back, right? I'm just making fun of his age being young, but like we and I was like, damn, like you've accomplished a lot, and I think you're super focused. Like I wish that, when I was in my early 20s I would have been as focused as you are now. So I kind of want to dig into that a little bit. Like I feel like a lot of people do go get their license when they're 18, right? And then they get in, and I guess, what limiting beliefs did you have first starting out, being young, right? Like and helping people to manage, the largest investment that they have or that they will have, right? Like what limiting beliefs did you have and how did you overcome those?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, whenever I first got licensed, I was a 19-year-old kid fresh out of high school, and I got licensed in January of 2020, which we all know what happened. March of 2020, the entire
Yeah.
world shut down for a little bit. And I think my biggest limiting beliefs had to do with the fact that I was 19. I'd never owned a house myself. Plus, people were not necessarily wanting to leave their house, let alone sell it.
Yeah.
So immediately I'm like, okay, well, in this crazy time, I think that people are going to want to trust, super experienced people, not a 19-year-old kid who doesn't know what the hell property taxes are, how to even get an FHA loan, and all this. It was just a combination of a bunch of stuff. Most of it had to do with my age and experience. And I tell my agents on the team now that question that every new agent has looming around in their mind of they're going to get, well, how many houses have you sold? I never got that question until like I was actually proud to answer that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I think it was just kind of how I carried myself. Like I've heard the term fake it till you make it. I don't think it's really like faking it till you make it. I think it's just kind of assuming the position that you want to be in. And that's kind of what I had to do to snap myself out of those limiting beliefs.
Well, and I think one of the things that I noticed about you when I first started seeing your content was you were definitely out there educating people, and sharing knowledge, right? And it may have been as you were learning it, I'm not sure, but I mean, you've always been someone that, we always make fun of each other, DM each other back and forth when we're posting videos. I'm like, damn, I
Yeah.
was just going to do that video, or like, this was a really good one, or whatever it may be. But like, the entire time you've been in real estate that I've known you, like, I feel like, you're putting out information for people to help to educate them, to ensure that they know what's happening, to give them an idea of what is going on in the market. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that in my mind, I didn't know it was a fake it till you make it. And maybe in your mind it was, right? But like, you've always come off as very confident and, knowledgeable as far as real estate goes. So,
The way that I've kind of taught my team about it, it's funny you say that because every time that, like, the first thing I always say to my team whenever we're about to do like a content day and maybe we have a new member that's their first time doing videos or something like that, I just tell them, look, imagine that it's just you and Justin, our videographer, you and Justin in the room, and there's no other realtor that exists in the entire world. Therefore, everybody that's going to see this video, nobody's going to tell you that was said wrong. Nobody's going to tell you, no, actually, this is the right way to, like, just don't even worry about any of that. And then I think what happens is you end up speaking with a little bit more confidence. It comes off as a little bit more genuine, and you're not as worried about how you're saying certain things, why you're saying certain things. It's just you're talking, and it's more like a conversation than anything else.
Outside of that, what other tips do you have? Because I mean, I find it difficult sometimes to get team members to shoot content, right? Like you and I both, like, we shoot with our videographers on a very regular basis, right? Like, even, in the time that I've known you, in the 2-3 years that I've known you, like, your comfort level on camera has increased significantly, right? Like before, and I mean, we all do it, right? Your intro to the video is just you standing there like, hello, this is a property and come tour with me. And now, you're walking down the street, you're this, you're that, you're hopping out behind a tree.
Yeah.
What else can you tell someone, or what else do you tell your teammates when you're trying to get them more comfortable on camera? Because, like, it's tough, right? And I'm sure a lot of people listening now are like, shit, like, I'm never going to be as good as Kaleb on video. Like, what are some things that you tell your team to get them more comfortable and to embrace it more?
Something I heard at a conference once was that, if you're worried about what other people are going to think about what you're saying, then chances are you're going to alter what you're saying. You're going to mess up on what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if you're worried about the more interior stuff, like as far as you, like the message that you're trying to convey, then it makes things come off more genuine, more authentic, and more real in general.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the biggest things I try to tell my team members is that, like, you can't worry about, you kind of just talk. Like if you're doing like a listing tour, for example, you kind of have to show Justin the house as if you'd show a client that you really, really wanted to buy this house, because it fits all their needs, it's close by their family, whatever it might be. Just kind of really highlight the high key points. And Brad told me a long time ago, Brad McCallum told me a long time ago, be you times two, right? And something I noticed was that that's not only the case on camera, but it's the case on the phones. Like if you're, cold calling people, we do a lot of that as well. And so something I've told my team recently is, like, any device between you and another person, like a phone, if you're calling somebody, if you're recording, any device between you and another person flattens you by 50%. So if you are just, like, I have a kid named Warren on my team who has a super, super deep voice naturally. And one of the first, like, sales tactics I was taught in Cutco, because I had a relatively deep voice, I guess, for a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, I was to, like, heighten the pitch a little bit, like, sound like a little kid that's selling knives, because that's the way to do it. And just kind of be a little bit nice. That's the best way to describe it, I guess. And just have that confidence. The confidence will come with the repetition. So if you just do it, get a little bit uncomfortable, then you'll be fine in the long run.
I think increasing the pitch of your voice is also like the enthusiasm. I had a buddy back when I did a property management, and he would, we'd be talking like this. It would be very, like, low key, just like, very chill. And as soon as he picked up the phone, like the phone for the office phone, he'd be like, hey, this is Katie. How can I help you? And then just, like, every single time it would crack me up, because we would just be, like, talking and just chilling and whatever, and he was just very, like, every single time, like, smile on his face, like, sat up straighter, like. And, I find that a lot with video. And I was live with Jesse Peters. I think you remember him from some of the conferences we've been to, and obviously Video Blueprint last year. And, like, he was laughing. He's like, yeah, this year I'm really hoping to see, like, Katie, like, crack some jokes and da 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 da. I was like, hey man, like, this is just my personality. Like, me times two. Like, yes, I am a little bit more robust, but I'm not, like, the stand-up comedian, or I'm not dancing on stage like you, man. He's like, I know, but I'm gonna get you there one day. I'm like, I don't think you will. But yeah, I totally feel you on the video. There's definitely that enthusiasm.
for sure. And Jesse is somebody that really embraces that. Like whenever I started seeing his listing tours, I remember so even before that, like I had a Zoom call with Brad and Justin once, and there was a listing that I had on like 20 acres one time, and I had one of my realtor friends let me borrow their four wheelers. And you probably remember me doing the four wheeler tour, right? And the very beginning of the video is like me rolling up, revving the engine, turning it off, and saying, "My name's Kaleb Monroe. I'm so excited to show you." Yada yada yada, right? And 30 seconds into the video, Brad says, "Okay, wait, pause the video real quick, Kaleb." And I pause it, and he's like, "So you just said that you're so excited to show me this house, and you don't look excited at all."
I'm so excited to show you this house.
And that's
Hello.
exactly as it was, you know. And ever since then, I think my videos truly did like shift. Like I'm just being a little bit more enthusiastic and excited and
Yeah.
over the top a little bit, you know.
Yeah. No, I would agree. It's definitely something we always laugh. Like no one can move like Brad McCallum, you know, and he's like, I'm just so excited, and is like gliding through the air. I think it's his hair that helps him to glide,
It definitely
towards
helps.
the camera. So yeah, I don't know if I can do that poof. Maybe you can grow
Right.
yours out. I'm not sure, but
We'll make it work somehow.
yeah. So again, you're newer in your career, right? What advice would you give to a brand new agent, right? They just got their license, they're looking to hang it with a brokerage. Like what advice would you give to someone in that position?
I think a couple of different things that I didn't really do up front. You know, I think number one is kind of get yourself immediately around some people that are doing what you want to do, and not in the sense of like kind of start with the end in mind. You know, like me, I came in and didn't necessarily know what a team was until I was introduced to a couple of teams and realized, okay, like, yeah, you guys are telling me a lot of cool stuff. Sure, you're trying to recruit me, but I want to be in your position. So what are you doing? That's like, how did you get here? You know?
Yeah.
And they would just tell me. They were very open with me about things. I think another thing was our sphere of influence is a lot bigger than I think we give ourselves initial credit for.
Yeah.
For example, whenever I first got into real estate, I had over 100 and something people that had bought knives from me, and that's immediately who I went to call first. But I didn't think about all the other couple hundred people who didn't buy knives from me because they couldn't afford it, but they remembered who I was, or the people that I
Name.
tried to set an appointment with, but they knew who I was. You know,
Yeah.
little things like that. Like I think that I did a bold at Keller Williams one
Yeah.
time, and that program like really does make you exhaust your sphere of influence because you're like having 100 conversations a week. Like it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I remember kind of just scrolling through my contacts and being like, "Oh, I know this lady. Like she knows me too. Let me call her real quick." And then hearing like time and time again, this was like in November of 2021, so I was already like past my first year. I was almost done with my second year, and I remember like calling a bunch of people who did remember me because they told me that
Yeah.
right after like the craziest market ever. And all these people are like, "Man, I wish you would have called me 3 months ago, 6 months ago, yesterday," like all this stuff, you know. And it's like, we just closed on a house. I have it listed currently. Yeah, like we just put an offer in on a house. And I'm like, oh, and
I'm so
everybody,
happy for you. Congratulations.
yeah, like wanted to punch a wall or something.
Yeah.
And but everybody like said the same thing right after that. I wish you would have called me, like I said, 3, 6 months ago. Some people were even like, I wish you would have called me a few weeks ago. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I just got into bold. Like I don't know. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think that like there's that whole thing about don't be a secret agent. That's just not like online social media, but it's also like reach out to people. I think most people are very uncomfortable about it because it's like, well, I haven't talked to this person in 4 or 5 years. Why would I call them now? And I'm like, well, why would you keep waiting if you want to talk to them now anyways?
Yeah.
Because 4 or 5 years is going to pass again, then it's going to be 10 years and you're not going to talk to them ever.
Yeah. Well, and so, leaning into your sphere, I think is huge. I'm hearing that from you now. And like, I feel, you do them, we do them as well, a lot of client events. So I think that's a very easy way. If I'm Kaleb, I'm calling you to invite you to a party rather than me being like, hey, Kaleb, I haven't talked to you in 4 years and I'm calling you just to catch up and see how things are going. Like that's an awkward conversation. So it's like the client events are a very easy way to get into conversation with people. What are some things that you had to kind of overcome as far as those calls, or were you nervous to call people because you were like, oh, I just got into real estate, or I'm too young, or I'm this or I'm that? Like, did you have anything like that you kind of had to mentally overcome before making those calls, or were you just like, shit, I've got to do this, so I'm going to do it?
It was more the second, like it was like a kind of back against the wall thing. But I mean, I was also cold calling people trying to sell them $1,000 knife sets before this.
Yeah.
So it's like I've been hung up on plenty of times, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think that that's the thing that I kind of tell my team now is like, look, I've went through all the crap of getting hung up on because I'm trying to sell some stuff to people that they may or may not want or need.
Yeah.
You're calling people trying to advise them on the biggest asset that they ever have. And I think that, most agents kind of feel as if they're making cold calls, calls to their SOI, whatever it might be, that they feel more like a used car salesman. And I try to advise them, like, don't look at yourself like that. Look at yourself like a financial advisor,
Yeah.
because that's more along the lines of what you're doing. Financial advisors will tell you the best times to trade your assets that you have. So are we. Hey, interest rates are super low. Hey, your equity is now here. Whatever it might be that you're reaching out and kind of trying to tell people, just know that you are a vital piece in people's puzzles.
Yeah.
And the way I see it is like there was somebody, I forget who it was, but he owns a team. And I just went to watch him speak one time. And he said, the way I see it is me and my team are on this really big yacht to the Bahamas.
Hmm.
And we're just like partying, having fun. And then all in the ocean, there's all these distressed buyers and sellers. And we have two options. We can either lower some of our, safety boats to kind of pull them on board and take them to the Bahamas with us and give them the best experience ever, or we can kind of just watch them in the water and let all these pirate realtors that are just kind of come, bring them on their boats, empty their pockets and commissions, and then throw them back in the water because they don't necessarily care about people as much as we do. And I
Yeah.
remember when he said that, I was like, wow, that is a crazy depiction, but it makes sense. Like I understood it. And, I think that that was one of the biggest things that I realized. Like there's 50 or 60,000 agents in Houston, or license
Yeah.
holders at least.
Yeah.
And there's like over 6 million people in Houston. And there's so much business to go around. It's crazy. So, I mean, you'll get hung up on, you'll get cursed out. I'm talking cold calls here. I hope that your Aunt Sally doesn't like curse you out or anything like that.
Sally, so mean.
Right? But I think that, as long as you start, you'll always get more comfortable. That's like the
Yeah.
biggest thing I try to tell my team is that, it's going to be uncomfortable at first. So is videos, so are cold calls, so are SOI calls, so is
So it's an
open
open house. Yeah.
door knocking, everything. Like anything you want to do, it will be uncomfortable at first. But think about when you go to the gym and you're lifting weights, like it freaking sucks tearing apart your muscles because you're lifting heavier weights every day and then being sore watching them recover after. But then you realize, oh, I can lift this weight a lot easier this next time around. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to push the weight even more. And,
Yeah.
I kind of try to tie as many real world analogies to real estate as possible because I think that in reality, agents are doing uncomfortable things every day outside of their job. But whenever it comes to the actual job itself, they just get in their head and start overthinking about it because it's like, this is the thing that's like paying my bills, feeding my family, which I
Yeah.
understand. So then you should have a more fire under your ass to go do it rather than
Yeah.
going to tear your muscles at the gym because you just want to look amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, that's important too.
Yeah. Which you do both every day, man. So,
Of course, yeah.
um, no, I mean, I think that it's interesting to me and I like the gym analogy, obviously, but I like, you know, you've got to do those difficult things, right? And like this is probably more important than that, really, in the scheme of things, because like how are you gonna pay for that gym membership? How are you gonna pay for those weights? How are you gonna pay for whatever?
Exactly.
How are you gonna pay for the food if you're not getting stuff done here? So I would completely agree with you there. Um, I think that that's great advice. As far as starting a team, when did you start the team?
My first agent joined me in November, November of 2022.
Okay.
Sorry, 2021. 2020.
2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so what advice would you give? Because I know you've had, more agents join, you've had agents leave, you've changed, things around and whatever. What advice would you give to someone if they were starting to think about starting their own team?
Um, you know, you don't have to bring everybody on. I think that that's one of the main things that I struggled with at the beginning. I just love people naturally. And if anybody's coming to me saying like, "Hey, I really, really want to do great," um, and this is not really about anybody currently on my team, thankfully, but like I had plenty of people who I considered a little bit at first,
Yeah.
and then through some time, kind of showed me their true colors about not anything negative. It's just they weren't as committed as I thought they would be.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone says they are
Exactly.
until.
And as a team, you have to understand, like, people get into the real estate to make their own schedule, to have some flexibility, so on and so forth. So to an extent, you have to respect those things. but you also have to respect your own standards. Like
Yep.
if you don't want this person on your team because they can't understand your schedule, they want to, take 50 vacations a year, whatever it might be, then cool. Like they can go do that and you can support them from afar. You can answer their calls whenever they call you, asking questions about contracts or whatever it might be. But you can't necessarily spend your time away from your business giving to somebody that's not as committed to their own business.
Yeah.
Because I think that the biggest transition I struggled with the team was like, oh crap, like I kind of have to slow down on production a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
I say that, but I'm still very heavy in production because I
Yeah.
know right now, while my team is mainly newer agents, so as they're starting to kind of like get their footing under them, I need to keep paying the bills, and my main revenue source right now is me. And
Yeah.
if I can keep doing that, I'm kind of like leading by example. I think that my purpose of starting a team was part selfless and part selfish, in the sense of selfless, like I truly do want to see every agent on my team currently. We have about 8 right now. Every agent on my team currently like far surpass my numbers. And then I also say that's going to be pretty freaking hard because I'm still producing. And the selfish part of me is like, now I have somebody right on my tail. So I
Yeah.
got to run a little bit faster.
Yeah.
It's just like a little extra motivation for both of us. But I think the main thing is like stick to your standards and don't falter on them, because
Yeah.
you could bend over backward for people that don't even have enough respect for their own business as they do for yours. So why would you even try to pour into them if they're not pouring into themselves?
No, I think that's a thing that a lot of team leaders fall into, right? Is either they don't have the team standards, right? They're just like, oh, hey, but we're a collective of people doing things, right? Or they don't enforce them, right? And so I think that's also difficult, especially as you grow the team, right? So you have 8 agents now. At one agent or 2 agents, it's all kumbaya. But then when you have 8 and you've got 2 or 3 people that may not be meeting those standards, and you've got 5 or 6 that are, they're looking at you and they're looking at these people like, well, what are we doing here? I'm over here busting my ass. You're over here busting your ass. And then,
Yeah.
Susie's taking 50 vacations a year. So I think that that's something that, it took us a while to find, one, what those standards are, and then two, to enforce them. But, continuing to raise the bar for everyone is super important. And what's the point of having them if you're not going to enforce them? So,
I think something that I'm in the middle of now is like kind of swallowing that pill of like, okay, I need to keep recruiting if I do want this thing to grow.
yeah,
Because the way I see it now, and this has just been through conversations with you, with other coaches, with anybody, is that, you don't necessarily have to physically remove or fire anyone, because if you continue recruiting, these people are going to do one of two things. They're either going to grow up and
yeah,
like start living up to the standards that are produced to them, or they're going to grow out
yeah,
and they're going to, kind of self-discover and exit the team on their own. And either result is good. You can, like I said, still love them from afar. And being the type of person I am, I have had to let people go, and it's a tough conversation just
yeah,
because I fall in love with you the second that you say you want to help me grow my business, and I want to help
yeah.
you grow yours, and now we're just amazing together. But at the same time, you have to really dissect, is this like, are we a good fit for each other, or should I refer you maybe to my other friend who does more of the things that you want to do, or whatever it might be. You don't necessarily have to lead everybody.
Yeah. No, for sure. All right. I want to talk a little bit about mindset before we end. And I know you've got your buffalo on. So let's talk a little bit about mindset and a little bit about, I've heard you talk about the buffalo, bison, buffalo. And yeah, so just tell me a little bit about that for someone that might not have heard it before.
So the Buffalo story, funny enough, whenever I was like really young, when I was like 13 and had a Twitter, and I didn't like wasn't supposed to have a Twitter, is whenever I first heard this story, and didn't really have a lot of impact on me then, being just a 13-year-old kid. But as I've kind of grown up, it has definitely been something prominent in my life. And so the Buffalo story kind of goes like this: anytime a herd of cows, buffaloes, cows, they can feel when storms are coming. And anytime a herd of cows sees a storm coming, typically they will tuck and run the opposite direction in like a big herd. Even ostriches, if they see a storm coming, they're probably just going to dig their head in the dirt and just
Yep.
ignore that the storm is even there. They're still going to get rained on. And the cows, they're still going to get caught up to at some point. But the buffalo, they actually congregate together and then run directly toward the storm. The reason for this is because they feel and know that this is going to be the fastest way that they can get through it. And of course, they're right. And after the fact, they can go enjoy through the storm what that storm left them: plenty of water, plenty of cool air, plenty of sunshine, rainbows, like all this stuff, right? So I take it as a personal analogy for people in real estate and sales or in just in life, that whenever you have a storm in your life, because we all do, an issue, a problem, a circumstance, the best thing to do is face it head on and run toward it, because that's typically the fastest way you'll be able to get through it, opposed to ignoring that it's there and it's still bugging you subconsciously and bothering you, or just running away from it and it eventually catching up to you at some point. Be a buffalo, face your issues head on, and you'll get through it and see all the beautiful things that it has for you on the other side a lot quicker.
Yeah. No, I love that story. I love the buffalo, mentality or mindset.
Of course.
And the other phrase that you hear a lot is like eat the frog, like doing
Yes.
the hard things first, right? And that's where, and you mentioned it earlier with like calling your sphere and stuff like that, right? Like people will say, like, oh, well, I don't want to do it, this, that, and you start building it up in your mind and start, getting that anxiety. And like Tom Ferry says this a lot, like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like you die, like that's the worst
Yeah.
thing. But like, are you really going to die if you make this phone call kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think the facing things head on, whether it's a problem or whether it's just your day or whatever it is, will get you very far. So I love that you keep that on as a reminder, and I love the mentality for sure.
Absolutely. Mindset is the biggest thing that my team and I talk about. We talk about the sales tactics, the scripts, the open house tactics, the everything, right? But the content, but the mindset is always, first and foremost. Because we got to understand this is a tough job that we're in, and it's a very rewarding and fruitful job that we're in as well. And in
Yeah.
reality, the processes are very repeatable. They're not hard. It's just a matter of scaling. That's the hard part, and that intimidates everybody. But I think, like I said, it's always going to come back to just having some a mental like toughness and some mental fortitude to know that everything on the other side of the pain you're feeling right now is so worth it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure. All right. I'm going to hit you with two questions. One would be, what would be a book or podcast you would recommend any agent listen to or read, or what's something that's impacted you in your career thus far?
Start with Why by Simon Sinek is my absolute favorite book. I think because he talks a lot in that book about companies that start with a why. People will suffer inconveniences and pay premiums simply just for their services. And he
Yeah.
referenced like Apple and
Yeah.
how when the first iPhone ever came out, people were waiting lines around the store whenever they could have just walked into the store the next week and bought it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, people that were walking out of the store with like 4 or 5 iPhones, selling them for way over the actual retail price. People were paying premiums because they didn't want to wait in the line.
Yeah.
And it's like, Apple never said that they wanted to be the biggest tech company in the world. They never said they wanted to be the biggest phone company in the world. They just wanted to be a company that changed the status quo. And in that book, he shares a story about Bill Gates and Steve Jobs competing for, the top tech company in the world kind of thing. It's a really good book. I won't spoil the story, but it's an awesome book.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I buy an iPhone, maybe not every year, but probably every other year. So,
Pretty
I'm
much.
right.
I need an upgrade. I've been saying for like weeks I need a new phone. This is my screen protector that's cracked, but I've been saying for weeks that I need a new phone, and I just need to go get it.
I'll go buy one and then sell it to you for the convenience.
That
So
sounds
it'll only
good.
be $5,000, Caleb, but I got you.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just make my next check out to move me to Texas.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We can just let the accounting department know. Just send me your next commission check. That's cool. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I got you. I got you. Okay. Final question. It sometimes stumps people, so I'll give you as much time as you need. If it were your last meal on earth, what would you be eating?
Oh shit.
Which
I
I know
love
actually could be tough for you because I know you do enjoy to eat food.
I love food. That's hard. Oh damn, Katie. It's
I
like
was
so.
kind of joking on the stumping people, but I can tell, like, for those of you listening and not watching this, like he's stumped right now.
Um.
It could be anything. It could be home cooked.
Thing.
It could be a restaurant. It could be
Um,
a combination of things.
I would say so. There's a sushi restaurant over here in Clear Lake, and it's like $18 for like unlimited. And buffets can be hit or miss, but
Yeah.
this thing is like quality. And I might go get it for lunch just because you made me think about it.
Yeah.
But I would say sushi, just
Okay.
any type of sushi, raw,
Okay.
cooked, doesn't matter. I love sushi,
Just all of it.
all of it. Just give it to me all. Just give it to me.
You're hilarious. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. A lot of good nuggets in here. If people don't already follow you on social, where's the best place for them to find you?
Instagram is at Kaleb R Monroe. That's KalebrMonroe. You can find pretty much any other link from there. YouTube, you can find me on just Kaleb Monroe. If you search up the Monroe team, you'll find our Google page on Google and stuff like that. So, plenty of different ways to find me, but I think Instagram has pretty much everything you need right there.
Best place to go. Awesome. Well, cool. I appreciate your time and wish you nothing but the best, man.
Appreciate you. Thanks so much.